We are coming to you live via Facebook streaming, via YouTube streaming, and via Skype. Each one of you is welcome to this live streaming. The second question is, the sutra says, when anger, violence, sex, etc. arises, one should consider it and then suddenly quit it. But when one does it, there is a feeling of sickness and uneasiness. What is the reason for this, for such negative feelings? The sutra says when anger, violence, sex, etc. arise, consider it and suddenly quit it. But when this is done, sometimes one gets the feeling of uneasiness and sickness. What are the reasons for it? There is only one reason for it, and the reason is that although the sutra says to consider, but your consideration is not total. Everyone wants to quit anger, but without understanding what anger is, what is the source of it, where is it arising from. Everyone wants to quit sex, but without understanding. And there is no revolution without understanding. If you do not understand it and you want to quit, you are going to create more problems, more misery for yourself. Do not think of renouncing anything. Just think how to understand it. Understanding is more important than renouncing it. There is no need of thinking to quit anything. The only need arises, the first and the foremost need arises is how to understand anger in its totality. If you have understood it in its totality, naturally the transformation will follow. If it is good for you, it is good for your being, it will grow. If it is bad for you, it will naturally drop. So quitting is not so important as it is the anger. The question arises, why do you want to quit anger? Because you have been taught that anger is bad, but you have not understood why is anger bad. Have you come to personal conclusion through your own deepening insights that anger is bad? If you have come to this conclusion through your own inner insight, there will be no need to quit it. It will naturally and automatically disappear. The very fact of knowing that it is poisonous is enough. But you have not based your conclusion on the basis of what you have heard. But you go on thinking of leaving anger because people say anger is bad. And you are simply influenced by whatsoever they say. When you go on thinking that anger is bad, and when the moment comes to you, you go on getting angry. This is how a double mind is created. That creates the situation of schizophrenia. You remain with anger, and yet still you think that anger is bad. This is not authenticity. If you consider anger is good, then do it and do not say that anger is bad. There is always a conflict in you. One side of your brain says one thing, the other side says something else. If you say anger is bad, then try to understand this. Let it be your own realization. You have to understand whether it is your own realization or someone else has told you and you consider it. Everyone is creating misery around oneself because of such belief system. Someone said that anger is bad. You have not experienced it yourself. Instead, you go on believing what others have said and think that you have understood. The parents are doing this, the society is doing this. Then one day you are just following the ideas of the others, and the difference between your nature and that of others ideas creates a split. You become schizophrenic. You will do something and you will believe in the contrary, and this will create guilt in you. Everyone feels guilty. Not that everyone is guilty. Everyone feels guilty because of this mechanism. You listen to others, consider it, and consider this as yours. The parents, the priests, the society says anger is bad. Everyone has said to you, told you that anger is bad, but no one has told you now. No one has told you how to know what anger is. Everyone says sex is bad, and they have been teaching that sex is bad. But no one says what sex is, how to know it, Ask your father. He will become uneasy about this question. Ask your priest. He will become uneasy. I recall many years ago, my nephew, he asked his father how children are born. He was 5 or 6-year-old child. The father got so uneasy he did not know that he went and drank half bottle of alcohol, consumed it. When I heard it, I called him. I said, what do you want to know? He said, how children are born. I said, that's very simple. I said, in school, what is your favorite subject that practically you do? Because practical is very important. He said, I like the agriculture. I said, what you do? He said that during the class, we prepare a flower pot by adding the soil, the manure, and then when the soil is ready, we plant a seed, water it, and keep it in the sun. I said, right. Exactly like this, children are born. You have to keep a flower pot with soil, and then you plant the seed. So probably the soil, you are preparing it, but you do not have the seed. It is the teacher on the appointed day gives you the seed and tells you how to plant it. In the same way, just as two things are necessary, a prepared flower pot and the seed. So someone holds the seed, the other prepares the flower pot, and the process of planting the seed takes place. Exactly like this, children are born. Fathers have the seed, and the mother is like the well-prepared flower pot with fertilized soil in it. Then the father plants the seed in the flower pot. This was quite satisfactory to him. No one has told me this example that I have taken. Neither my parents nor any teacher. The only thing is my grandfather, the Sufi master, through his tawajjuh, taught me that knowing which everything becomes known, gave me that principle. Once you know this, everything becomes known. And what is that principle? That principle is awareness. That principle is consciousness. That principle is oneness with existence. Once you have that secret, you can find the answer to any unasked questions that can appear to you to be embarrassing. What has happened? This question appeared to the father embarrassing. He was not told. He did not understand, although he was highly educated in his own field. But not in the aspects of life. There is one particular poet. He comes from the film fraternity in India. He wrote a composition which has become a famous song. तुझसे नाराज नहीं जिंदगी. O life, I am not angry with you. Life, I am not angry with you, but certainly I am bemused, flabbergasted by the simple questions that you ask, raise on a day-to-day basis. तुझसे नाराज नहीं जिंदगी, तेरे मासूम सवालों से परेशान हूँ. Masoom means innocent questions. Life, the child means life, and this is an innocent question how children are born. It has nothing to do with sex. It can be explained in a very simple manner that the person can understand at his level of understanding. तुझसे नाराज नहीं जिंदगी, तेरे मासूम सवालों से परेशान हूँ. This song is beautiful words, beautiful melody. Parents are doing this, the society is doing, and then you begin to follow the others, the ideas of the others, and the difference between your nature, what is your nature, and the ideas of the other. There are two things. One is your nature. The other is the ideas that has been imposed on you from outside. These two create conflict in you. And you become schizophrenic. You will do something and you believe in the very contrary. This creates the feeling of guilt. Everyone feels guilty. Not that everyone is guilty, but it is because of the mechanism that one feels guilty. It is said, everyone says anger is bad. But why it is bad and what is anger? Anger is punishing yourself for the actions of the others. Actions can be in the form of thought. It can be in the form of something is said to you or something is done in front of you. So when you punish yourself for the actions of others, anger arises. Is it good to punish yourself for the actions of the others? It is like keeping a burnt coal on your palm and then crying. So someone has said that you are an idiot. Without thinking that you are an idiot or not, you get angry with that person. What is understanding? This is very well explained in the life of Gurdjieff. Gurdjieff belonged to a nomadic society. They had no permanent residence of their own, constantly moving from place to place. When his father was dying, he told Gurdjieff, he was 9 years of age, that I have no wealth or anything to give it to you, but I have the experience of my life condensed in one sentence. If you understand it, the day you will understand it, your life will be transformed. What was that? He said, when someone says something to you, anger is coming to you, postpone it for 24 hours. During this period, you will get a time and opportunity to consider it, to think it. So, Gurdjieff started practicing it from that very moment. Sometimes someone came and he said something. Gurdjieff said, I am not ready to answer your question or what you have said about me. You will give me 24 hours and after that I will come and answer you. So during that 24 hours, he got an opportunity to understand something. The person said, you don't listen to anyone, you just go on saying things, but you don't listen. What you will do? How can you say that I don't listen? I listen and then answer. But Gurdjieff said, then he realized that what the person has said is right about him. And if something is right about me, there is no need to get angry about it. And if it is not so, and you have understood that you listen to the person and then answer it, then whatever the person said about you is not right. So if something that is said about you is not right, you do not need to get angry. So sometimes it happened that their 24 hours passed, the person Gurdjieff did not go to that person, and maybe after some time the person meets Gurdjieff and asks him, oh, you said you will come back after 24 hours. He said, no, there was no need. Whatever you have said about me was right, and it was important for me to correct it, rather than going and getting angry and coming to say things to you. This is understanding. Everyone says sex is bad. They have been teaching the sex is bad. No one says what sex is and how to know it. You ask your father, he becomes uneasy. He will say, don't ask about such bad things. But these bad things are fact. Sex is an energy which has been given to you. You did not borrow it from someone. It is a natural instinct in everyone. You have to understand it, when to enter into it, how to enter it. Something which has been given to you as part of your nature. How can that be bad? Even your father could not escape it, otherwise he says that it is bad, yet still he engages in it. And if he has understood it, your father could not escape. If he could have escaped, you would have not been born. You are the naked fact, and no matter what your father says about sex, he could not escape its grip. But he will feel uneasy if you ask him, because no one has told him, his parents never told him that's why sex is bad. Why and how to know it? You have to go deep into it. No one tells you this. They will just go on labeling things. This is bad, this is good. And this process of labeling, good or bad, creates misery and hell in an individual. So one thing remember, for any seeker, a real seeker, this is the basic thing to be understood. Remain with your facts, try to know them. Do not allow this society to force its ideology on you. Do not look at yourself through the eyes of others. You have eyes, and you are not blind, and you have the fact of your inner life. Use your eyes. Use your eyes yourself to see it. And when you are able to see with your own eyes, you will understand it, and there will not be any feeling of uneasiness in you. But when one does it, one sometimes feel uneasy and sick. You will feel this if you have not understood the facts. Certainly you will feel uneasy, because it is a subtle repression. You know already anger is bad. If I say to consider it, you do consider, so only then it can be renounced. That renouncing is there, always present in your mind. Someone says that asks how to get rid of sex. You have heard the misery of sex. You have read much. You have written books. You have told this to your sons and daughters. You have created guilt. Now you can torture. You have made others inferior. Now you will never be at ease. You will have to live with this guilty feeling. And then even sometimes the elderly people ask how to get rid of sex. If you become aware of the fact, it would be easier. When you misunderstanding it, and by the time the age advances, the sex becomes weak, and the awareness will need more effort. When sex is violent and anger is there, sex is young, you can be aware of it more easily. It is so forceful. It is not difficult to see and know and feel it. When you become old, feeble, weak, ill, you will have difficulty in being aware of sex. When you are young, you think of celibacy. You could not have lived that because you have given birth to children. And when you are thinking of celibacy, you miss the opportunity. And now you are thinking of what to do about it. The only thing is this: you have to be aware of it, to forget all the conditionings and teachings, and to say anything about sex to anyone without knowing it yourself is wrong. Be aware of it. If you are aware of it, then who is there to decide to get rid of it? How do you consider or conclude that sex is bad? Is it taken for granted? Is there no need? Is there no need to discover it yourself? Do you think of renouncing anything? Renunciation means you do not understand it yourself, and you are being forced by the ideas of the others. Be individual, have your own understanding. Do not allow this society to keep you as a slave, impose its belief system or understanding, but this is what it is happening. Certain religions are very rigid. If anything is said against them, there is a serious problem. You have eyes, you have consciousness, you have sex, you have anger and other facts. Use your consciousness, that is the principle that is given to you. Use your eyes, be aware of it. Think of yourself as if you are alone and no one is there to teach you. Now almost 40 plus years I am in Trinidad. There is no way for me to get in connection, in contact with my uncle. And even when I was there, growing, I never asked a question direct. All I thought that if you have to tell me something, let your answer arise on the inner screen of my being, and I should not have to ask you any question directly. The moment question arises in me, your energy or the consciousness should immediately resolve it. So I have been all alone. No one was there to teach me what to do. Start from the very beginning, from ABC, and go inside. Be totally aware. Do not decide. Do not be in haste. Do not conclude so soon. If you can reach a conclusion through your own awareness, that is the very conclusion which will help you to transform. Then there will be no feeling of sickness or uneasiness. There will be no repression either. Only then you can quit anything. I am not saying be aware to quit. Remember, I am saying if you are aware, then you can quit anything. Awareness is not the technique to quit anything. Quitting is the consequence of awareness. If you are aware, you can quit, but you may not decide to quit. There is no necessity. You may never decide to quit. Sex is there. If you become fully aware of it, you may not decide to quit it. If with full awareness you decide to quit it, then sex will have its own beauty. If with full awareness you decide to quit it, then your renunciation will be beautiful. Try to understand this. Whatsoever comes, whatsoever happens through awareness is beautiful, and whatsoever happens without awareness is ugly. That is why the so-called celibates, monks, are basically ugly. Their whole way of life is ugly. That celibacy has not come as a consequence. It is not the outcome of their own search. You look at the person like D.H. Lawrence. His sex is beautiful, more beautiful than the renunciation of most of the celibate monks, because his sex is with full awareness. Through inner search, he has come to the conclusion that he is going to live with sex. He has accepted the fact there is no hitch. Rather, sex has become glorious in him. So D.H. Lawrence is fully aware of his sex, accepting it, living it, and it has a beauty of its own. On the contrary, Mahabir is fully aware of the fact and then came to leave it, quit it. It has a beauty of its own. D.H. Lawrence, in his acceptance, in his understanding of acceptance, is beautiful, and Mahabir, in his understanding and quitting it, is beautiful. Both are beautiful, but beauty is not of sex and not of quitting sex, but beauty comes because of awareness. Lawrence had the awareness. He was aware of sex. He accepted it, lived with it. This was the outcome of his awareness. Mahabir became aware of the fact, and then coming to leave it, he quit it. Both follow the different routes, but this was the outcome of their own understanding, their own awareness. Not that somebody has told him. This must be constantly remembered, that you may not come to the same conclusion as Buddha. There is no necessity. You may not come to same conclusion as Mahabir. There is no need. There is there is no need. The only thing that is needed is that of your awareness. When you are fully aware, whatsoever happens to you is beautiful, is divine. Look at the sages of the past. I told you in the beginning how Vigyan Bhairav Tantra began. Devi, who is one of the manifestation of Shiva, of Parvati, you are one person. You have many manifestations. You have a role as a professor. You have a role as a cook in the kitchen when you are going to prepare. So, you as a chef is one manifestation. As a professor is one manifestation. As a pedestrian walking on the street is another manifestation. And this is how people, they have the Hinduism, the Sanatan way made this thing very clear. When you are angry or you are going to correct something, you are in a different manifestation. When you are going to wash your car, you do not come in the garb of a professor. You come with your short pants and a t-shirt. So your image to go and clean the car is in the short pants and a t-shirt, and anyone can be surprised to see you in that form, a student, because they know you as a professor, dressed elegantly. That was one manifestation. So these, in that way, Parvati has many manifestations as Devi. She learned from Shiva. The essentials of Vigyan Bhairav Tantra in the form of Durga. She destroyed one of the demon. And so many forms of manifestations of Parvati is there. So in this manifestation, she is sitting in the lap of Shiva in a deep love gesture. You cannot conceive Mahabir in the same posture. It is impossible. You cannot conceive Buddha in that posture. Just because Ram is pictured with Sita, sitting with Sita on his side, Jains, the followers of Mahabir, cannot accept him as an incarnation, as a divine incarnation, because he is still with a woman. It is impossible for the followers of Mahabir to conceive of Ram as an incarnation of God, or Krishna as an incarnation of God who is dancing on the banks of the blue river with milkmaids. Ram and Krishna are great. Ram has a woman on his side. Krishna has many women dancing with him. When woman is there, you cannot go beyond man. The counterpart is there, so you are still a man. Of course, Ram is a great man, but not beyond man. If you ask Hindus, they have not talked about Mahabir, not even talked about him, not even mentioned him in their script religious books, because Hindu mind cannot conceive of man without a woman. Shiva, you have to understand, man and woman are the manifestation of energy, the feminine and the masculine energy. And if you consider as a manifestation of energy, just as your electric bulb cannot light without the positive and negative current flowing together and neutralizing one another, the light cannot be there. Hindus greet people with the salutation of Sitaram or Radha Krishna. You cannot find a more aware and conscious person than Shiva, but he is sitting with Parvati on his lap. It creates a problem. Then who is right? Is a Buddha right or a Shiva right? Problems are created because we do not understand that every flower has an individuality. Buddha and Shiva both are fully conscious, but it happens to Buddha that he leaves something in his full consciousness. That is his choice. It happens to Shiva in his full consciousness and he accepts everything. Shiva accepts everything. Parvati is sitting on his lap during the time that Shiva gives the sutras of Vigyan Bhairav Tantra. Buddha has renounced Yashodhara, his wife. They are both at the same point of realization, of awareness, but their expressions are different. So do not create any pattern. No one knows what will happen when you become aware. Do not decide before becoming aware that you are going to quit it or not, whether you are going to quit this or that. Do not decide. No one knows. Wait. Be aware. Let your being flower first. No one knows what will happen, whether this particular plant will bring rose or what color of rose. All the flowers, all the rose plants looks the same. The same stem, the same thorns, the same leaves. But the innerness of a plant flowers as red rose, next one as white rose, third one as a pink rose, next one as orange rose, and so on and so forth. God has created every individual apparently same, but their awareness flowers in a different way. With everyone there is an unknown possibility of flowering, and you need not follow anyone, because when you are following something, it is deceptive, destructive, it is dangerous. Every imitation is suicide. Wait. These teachings are only to make you aware, and when you are aware, you can quit anything or you can accept anything. When you are not aware, remember what is happening. Neither can you accept nor you can quit. You are in a state of conflict. You have sex, neither can you accept it totally and forget about it, nor you can quit it. Accept it and forget, or quit it and forget. But you cannot do either of the two. You are always doing both. You will accept and then you will think of quitting. This creates a vicious circle. When you have had sex, then for a few hours or few days you think of quitting it. Really, you are doing nothing else but remaining regaining during that period when after the act of sex you are doing nothing else but you go on regaining the energy. When you have regained energy, you will think of having sex again, and this will go on for the rest of the life. It has been for so many lives. When you become fully aware, then you can decide either to accept it, and then acceptance gives beauty, or you quit it, then quitting is also beautiful. So one thing is, when you are aware, you can forget it. Either way. Either accept it, then you will not consider sex bad, or you can quit it, then you cannot consider it good. It is not a problem then. Your decision is total and the problem drops. But if you feel any uneasiness, it means you have not considered it totally, you are not aware. So be more aware. Consider the fact more deeply, more individually, without conclusions of the others. Only then you can experience transformation, not otherwise. Only this much for this morning. Until we meet again, take care and do have a pleasant day.